All right, well, welcome to the Third Power Life podcast. I am super, super excited today because I get to talk to one of my favorite people in the world. This is Tiffany Simms. I'm super happy you're here. I'm like, it's going to be so much fun. Just what I would love if you could just kind of like give the broad, here's who I am, here's what I do, and then we can start getting in and having some fun. But just that introduction of who you are for those poor souls that don't know.
You're so funny, Dan. Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited you opened your calendar for us to have this chat. So, hi, I am Tiffany Simms, and I think it's so important to know who people are before they tell you what they do. And so, for me, I am a girl who loves the color pink. I was raised on Lisa Frank, so everything was bright and girly and girl empowerment and girl boss and Captain Planet saves the world. And I think somewhere along the way, the world decided that we became adults and that was no longer acceptable. And so here in my 40s, I'm like, no, that is exactly how we were supposed to live life. And I'm bringing those parts back into my life. And so I love being around the water. I love being outside. I love taking my dog for walks, hiking and kayaking. I've run over 250 miles through Disney World alone. And I just think life is really cool. And I think the humans that I get to meet and have conversations with, when they're open to being a human with me, like letting down the walls, not trying to perform, but just soul to soul conversations, like I think there's such a gift and they are my favorite. And so I'm excited when Dan, when you were like, we're just have a conversation. And I was like, my favorite, because I don't know
Yes.
how to perform. I just know how to be me. And so for work wise, I help women create a life they don't need to escape from and really help you learn how to balance and not so much balance, but create harmony between your health, your relationships, and the way you earn money. Because when you learn how to let those integrate into each other and ebb and flow within your life, all of a sudden, every day is the best day of your life because the pieces that are most important to you are no longer in competition with each other. And so that is like me in an essence. I want you to live
Oh,
a big sparkly life and I want you to win.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I talk all the time. It's not everybody knows the term life balance. We need to have work-life balance, which and I said for years I'm the life balance speaker, right? And there's no such thing as balance. There's a I call it harmony,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's
For a
being in
really long time,
harmony.
I called it integration.
Uh-huh. Yes. I like
And
that.
now I like harmony. I'm much more in tune with harmony.
Yes. And the other thing that I like to say, because I talk a lot about purpose, it's what I did my TEDx talk on, and I know you talk about it, but it's being out of balance on purpose, right? And that's where I love the ebb and the flow that you talk about with, because that's what it is. There are times when I'm going to be working far more than I'm going to be spending time with, my family or my kids or whatever. And then there are times where, in June, it's my wife and I's 20th anniversary this June, right? And so I'm taking off for a week and a half. I'll be at Elevate, right? Or not Elevate, Connect, and then going on a cruise, going to the Bahamas for my first time ever being on a cruise, right? And so I'm
You're gonna
not
have so
working
much
at
fun.
all, right? And so it's going to be this opposite, going in a different off balance in a different way. And so it's that constant dance of what we want to be and what we want to do. I it's not that we're always going to be doing everything that we like to do because there are days when you've got to do stuff that sucks, right?
See,
But
I have a different take on that though, Dan.
okay,
So
yeah, tell me.
I want to share my perspective. And I didn't always believe this. And the moment I realized it to be true, everything about my life changed. For a really long time, I was taught that you can have it all. You just can't have it all in the same time at the same time because you have to pick and choose what's important and what season you're in. And what
Okay.
I have found is that when you define or like when I define what success actually meant for me, and what was healthy for me. Like if I were to sit down and no one could read what being healthy felt like in my body, what would I actually say? And it had nothing to do with how much I weighed or the size of my clothes or how fast I could run. It was like being able to go on a walk with my family without being out of breath, being able to climb the stairs without being sweaty, being able to wash the dishes without like boob sweat and then being embarrassed when I go and get on a call because you're like, oh my God, I look disgusting. Or like the seasons of my life when being healthy just meant I just want to be able to tie my shoes without feeling like I'm going to pop and explode. And I want to feel good when I eat. I don't want to feel bloated when I'm done eating. And so, like, those became my markers. And all of a sudden, for my health, it was no longer what diet do I need to do? What workout do I need to do? It all of a sudden became like, what do I want to do to feel the way I define success for myself? And now I was no longer fighting with myself and relying on discipline. It was like this being able to get back in tune with my intuition and what my body was telling me. And so some days it'd be like, hey, you want a cupcake? And I'd be like, oh, hell yes, I do. And other days my stomach would be like, eh, and I'd be like, oh, no, I'm good. And so it was like those little
Mhm.
moments. And then that went into my relationships. And when I defined what I wanted my relationships to look and feel and what kind of conversations we were having and what words I wanted people to use to describe me when I wasn't in the room, well, that changed everything because now I wasn't performing and I wasn't like, okay, I got to make sure I'm leaving work at 3 o'clock every day so that I have time to go do this thing with my family because they feel neglected and I want to make sure that they feel loved and supported. It was like, oh, actually, no, like my family is on my calendar regularly because not
Right.
because I'm too busy and I need to schedule them in, but because I learned that if it's not on my calendar, then that must mean it's not important to me. And then I did the same thing with my career. And so when that defined my GPS and my coordinates. So I never feel that I'm sacrificing anything because I am doing literally everything I want every moment of the day by design. And
Right.
so when I hear you talking, like I don't hear you saying like I'm sacrificing my job or like when I go on this cruise with my wife and we're gonna go all family and no work. Like no, that was you. That's you living your life by design. And I think that
Absolutely.
that's harmony. That's not balance. That's not juggling. That's not like all in these seasons. And because for such a long time, Dan, oh, I am like on it. I can feel it. I feel it in my
I
soul.
feel it. Keep
For
going.
for such a long time, the world was selling me like you all in, all or nothing. You got to be disciplined. You got to be committed. And but the thing with that is if you are relying on a plan that requires every ounce of your mental energy, then it's not sustainable in lives. And so like when you define that and you figure out like where those levers are that you want to pull and you get to be present in every moment that you want to be, like that changes everything. And now I do have balance because it is exactly designed however the puzzle pieces fit for it to sit there in perfect harmony.
Yes. And right on. Because and that right
You don't have
and
to
that
agree. It's okay.
no, but I do, and that for me, that's what being like the out of balance on purpose means, right? Is my purpose is what do I want, right? What you're saying is this is the way I want my body to feel. This is what I want my relationships to be. That's all in line with what I want my life to be like. That's what my legacy, that's what my purpose is all about, right? I feel like so many times and it probably comes across even when I say like going towards being out of balance on purpose. What's my personal purpose, right? It's like I'm going to be this kind of businessman. I'm going to have this much money in the bank account. I'm going right. It feels like a purpose is this one thing that's in the future that's where we're going. And the reality is that my purpose is to be comfortable in my own skin and to my purpose is to live a life that I want my children to emulate. My purpose is to help other people live the life that I know that they can have, right? And
Love it.
so that is not just well, here's the objective that I need to achieve. It's here's who do I want to be,
Do you
right?
know what the
That's
fun
that
part about
purpose.
being is? And this is something I've really learned this year. I turned 40 back in August. And I used to think I was always, and I am always becoming, but I
Mhm.
am so presently like I am being her right now. I am her right now.
Yes.
And that is like the strangest, most coolest concept that I would not have understood a year ago because I hadn't experienced it.
Hmm.
Like this sense of being, like what would happen? I spent 2 years just learning how to be. So I worked in nuclear power, Dan, for 12, almost 13 years, something like that. I was a
Okay.
chemist. I kept your lights on, and very high stress, high demand, male dominated work environment where everything was due last month and everything was a fire. And coming out of that, like I had to have a season of decompression. I'm like, I don't even really know who I am. I've been chasing all these things for such a long time. And I was like always intentional about the things I was chasing, but I wasn't really connected to them. And
Okay.
so when I transitioned out of that space, like I had to learn how to be. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know how to sit still. I didn't know how to be in silence. I didn't know how to be with my own thoughts. Like,
Yeah.
and it was like this practicing of like not performing, but just being. And it was the most beautiful and strangest and hardest thing I have ever done was learning how to be.
Now, do you have like a, because for me, I feel you. I feel you, my friend, right? And it wasn't until well, my whole life like blew up, back 2001, 2002, essentially in little over a 3 month period was divorce, layoff, death of a parent.
Holy cow.
Boom, boom, boom. And wonderful time. Um, but it wasn't until after that that I really learned to how do I be, right? Because I lost everything, went from lots of money to zero money, hiding my car in the back field behind my mom's house so I could make the payment and they wouldn't tow it away, kind of thing, right? That brings you to a different place mentally. And for me, I learned to meditate and to go walking in the woods, get quiet, and like asking who am I? You know, 'Cause part of it was like, well, why did this happen? I don't want to do this again, right?
How did we get here?
Right?
Somewhere I
And-
missed an exit sign, an exit ramp.
yes, this is not the road I wanted to be on. And so for me, it was like I meditate just about every day in either a little bit, it might just be walking out in the backyard, going to check all of my garden. I grow hot peppers and tomatoes and stuff in my
So
backyard.
fancy. Do you make a lot of salsa?
I do.
I was like, why else does someone need peppers and tomatoes and things like that? You must make a lot of salsa.
Uh, well, yeah, I actually just eat the peppers with my meals and stuff. But anyway, I grow Carolina Reaper. I have ghost pepper,
You're
jalapeno.
diabolical.
Oh, they're evil. I tell people like people want to try them. My old boss wanted to try one. I'm like, I will bring it to this on-site we're having, but you have
Ugh,
to be careful because it will hurt you. Right? They're evil. I don't know if you like spicy food at
I
all, but
do not. My body just rejects spicy food. It is not for me.
gotcha. Yeah. So like a jalapeno is like 6,000 Scoville units, and this one is 3 million or 2 million.
Yeah.
So it's like it's evil. Anyway, so I digress. But part of my morning routine is I will go out and just check and I walk barefoot, drives my wife a little nuts, but I want connection to the earth, right? And so I'll go out in the backyard, just walk around, checking all my plants, check my grapevines, check, all of this. But it's breathe in, look at the sky, listen to the sound, right? That grounding helps me connect with who I am. And I do that before I do my journaling, before I do all of this, that quieting the mind to figure out who am I, what am I thinking. So that was my kind of what really made a difference for me in helping me find who am I to be. So I'm curious, what is there anything that you did do you follow a meditation? Do you follow a prayer? What's your path to finding your be?
There's a lot of walking. I think in the beginning I was trying so hard to like force it that like I did all the things. Like I would sit there, I would do my yoga, I had a very regimented like workout routine, and I was like doing my morning journaling and my gratitude and like all the things, right? Checking all the boxes. And then
Uh-huh.
I
I'm going to
realized
schedule my spontaneity. Right?
I am going to schedule my connectedness of being. And then I was just like, Tiffany, what would happen? And it was a practice. The practice was practicing what would it be like if you just were? What would it be like if you just in the moment decided what was going to make you feel alive and did that? What if in this moment, what's going to make you feel joyful? Let's do that. And so it transitioned into this like letting go of every workout regimen I had, every meal plan regimen I had. And it was like these little questions of how do I want to feel? And that if when it came to working, moving my body, it was like, how do I want to feel? I want to feel joyful. Well, what's going to make me feel that way? Sometimes it'd be a dance party. Sometimes it was just a long walk. Other times it was a run. Sometimes it was going and being like, actually, I just want to lift some heavy shit and put heavy shit back down. Like that is what I want to do. And that is what's going to make me feel alive. And so all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, I don't feel so alive. I feel like every ounce of my body is tingling with joy. And and so like my practice is just the like, what do I need in this moment? And like the practice of asking myself that. But throughout the day now, I would say if there was a camera in my house, the things that stick regularly, gratitude journal every single morning. And I force myself to be grateful, to find three things to be grateful for in the last 24 hours. In the last 24 hours, because it's really grateful. It's really easy to do the big things and like the like, of course, you're grateful for that things from like 2 months ago. But there was
Mhm.
something, even if yesterday was hard, there was something to be grateful for about it. Um, and then we have lots of dance parties. Whenever I start to get stuck or anxious or like not sure what my next step is, like I jump up and I dance around my house like I am a 3-year-old with a full diaper. It is the best. Do you know what I'm talking about? You had the vision. Are they not the like they are the happiest humans? Is a 3-year-old with a full diaper
Oh
dancing like
yeah.
no cares in the
Oh
world.
yeah.
So that's what I do. And
Absolutely.
we just
No,
go.
that's why I laugh so much. It's like, yes, yes, I get it.
And a
Um,
lot of
have
walking.
have you read this?
Yeah, so I have it on my shelf. I can see it from here.
So that's where I actually just, this is not a paid paid thing, but get this book. It will change your life.
Chaz
Right?
Wilson actually recommended that book to me.
Gotcha. Yes. And that book, I read it, I guess it's been 4 months ago now, and it did change my life. And and I've got an entire shelf of self-improvement. I've been studying self-improvement since I was what, 18? When I was 18, I joined Amway. Right? And I was going to make lots of money. Never made any money. I think I made my first check was $1.62, right?
That is,
But
I just made 14 cents on TikTok this week. I'm ecstatic. I think it's so
wow,
cool.
awesome.
I went live and earned 13 cents. I was like, I am so cool.
I have to try that now. But here's what the thing. What they did do is it was a book of the month and a tape of the week. It was audio cassettes because I'm old, right? But it was Zig Ziglar and Og Mandino, and it was all of this self-improvement stuff. And so it literally changed my life. I have no regrets trying to sell stuff back in the day. But this book changed me, such a great concept, the gap in the gain. But the main thing that it really did is I sleep so much better now
Mm.
because I've got my journal, and every night I write down what are my at least three gains from the day. So even when it was a shitty day, there were still things that went well. It's like, I cleaned the backyard and the porch. And my wife made deviled eggs. And go
Isn't
go
it
to boating.
beautiful? Isn't it beautiful how we're always waiting for these big moments, right, to be grateful for? And then it's like the little things. Like it
Yes.
is the simplest things, like deviled eggs, being grateful that your wife made deviled eggs. Like how beautiful is that?
Yes. And it's the same for relationships. It is the same for like every night I bring my wife a glass of water and put it on her night table bed, on night, her night table next to the bed, because I know she likes to have a glass of water at night. Every morning I make her coffee. It tastes better when I make her coffee than when she makes her coffee, right? And so,
Facts.
right, so I make the coffee and I bring it into the bathroom in the morning, and I'm like, your coffee, my love, and I always say it like that, exact, it's like that, and it's those little things, those little tiny deposits in that relationship account, if you want to go that, in a measurement kind of thing, makes all the difference. So when something comes up like, hey, I need to spend $1,000 on this conference, or I need to travel, or I need to do something that's not necessarily great, I've got, I can make that withdrawal without bankrupting the account, right?
But there's also some beauty in it too, that it's those little like, yes, it's giving you goodwill that you're not bankrupting the
Well,
account,
yeah,
but it's those little moments that when someone is gone, like when someone's life comes to the end and they pass on to the wherever we go next, it's like those little moments are the things that you miss most about them, because it's like those little memories, those little, like, I just loved how I got to see him every single morning and how goofy we were. I just love the attention to detail. Like, it's like those moments where you crawl into bed and you just miss someone because of those routines that seem so non-important, but they're the ones that like last a lifetime. And I think that I think that we get so wrapped up in keeping up with the Joneses and what's next and surviving the day that we completely overlook all of those mini minuscule things that we think aren't important, but it's those moments that make a life.
yeah.
And so like I
It,
am in a season of practicing being like living my life every single day, being
yeah,
present in my life in those moments.
yeah. And that's what it, and it brings me joy to do that, right? It's just,
It feels good to make
it,
someone feel good, doesn't it?
yeah, it does. I mean, and that's why, I mean, honestly, I think that's why we're here, is it's not just for, for me. It's like, what is my impact on you and on the world? I mean, honestly, it's why I love doing what we're doing right now, right? This is connection. This is joy. This is, it's like, yes, right? We get it. And finding somebody who gets it is like the best thing in the world. And so, I mean, this makes my week.
I think
Right?
it's so cool that we get to lead by example and
Hmm.
not lead because we are the example, but like we just get to practice and demonstrate what conversation looks like to other people. I think that is so cool. I think that's my favorite part of podcasting is being able to just demonstrate what dialogue and having a conversation and being able to say like, oh, I might actually have a different take on that. Can I like I want to can I share it with you?
Yeah.
Because I think as a society, Dan, like the reason we're so connected, but yet we're so disconnected and so lonely because we don't know how to ebb and flow in a conversation. We don't know how to have a conversation.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's LOL, right? That our human connection has become, 140 characters or
Or
whatever, right?
or you're recording things, you're always talking at someone. You're always talking to and talking at because there's no one there to talk with you. And so you're always just projecting, but we're never like receiving and giving and receiving and giving in this space where it's like it's okay to have different opinions and different life experiences. I think it's a blessing to share that.
No, you have to believe exactly what I believe. Otherwise you are,
You are canceled.
yes, you
But there's
can't.
a way some of y'all need to be canceled because of the way that you approach your conversation. It's not the things that you're saying or what you believe in, but like, are you talking to be heard? Are you talking to like, are you talking to be understood? Or are you just talking to be talking? You know what I mean?
I basically I am talking to improve my own ego to myself. I mean,
I
that
love
that's
that.
what it, I mean, my that's why I have widescreen on my camera so it fits my whole ego in, right?
It's just so big.
Yes.
It's amazing what you learn about yourself as you start paying attention to like your your ego and your personas and like your posturing, right? Like, can we talk
Oh
about
God.
that for a second? Because like I know we joke about it
Do
and I
we
know
have
people are like,
to?
but like I learned so much about myself. There's been so many things that I thought I was doing out of the kindness of my heart. And it turned out that while that can still be true, that is true, there's also a truth in that is that some of the things that I was doing was out of protecting myself, protecting my ego, allowing validation to happen to like tell me I was enoughness, you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
like realizing that all of it is happening at the same time, that all of that is true at the same time, and then like holding space without judgment as you navigate what you want to do with it now that you see it. I think that's so cool.
Yes.
This hair that is flopping against my face because I have a fan blowing is like driving me nuts. I'm like,
See, now here's the big challenge. As a man,
Ozamon.
as
I
a
don't know.
man,
I've never been
we
one
are
of the.
taught that ego is incredibly important. That, and there is an innate and again, I'm old, so hopefully this is changing a little bit as we get into more enlightened times. Sorry. But the reality is like if I show weakness, if I show any type of less than, that means I'm not a man. I'm
That means
not enough.
I'll be eaten alive.
Yes. It's a dog eat dog world and I'm wearing milk bone underwear kind of thing, right? Um, and so, and again, this is
You
a
grew up on Chevy.
generalization.
You grew up on Chevy Chase, didn't you?
Yes, I did. But you know, as a generalization, men are generally more egotistical because our self-worth is wrapped in who we are, what we do. I am not a person, I am a senior director of technology, right? It's who we are and what we do is intertwined with our being. And so the ego has to be the sacrosanct. It has to be that bastion. You can't challenge that. And that leaves us with this distance. There's this barrier between actually being connected,
I
right?
think the same, what you just described is the same as being a strong, independent, I can take care of myself female
Hmm.
in this world of like having to always prove yourself that you belong at the seat at the table. Because I had lived in that space for such a long time as I was like climbing my ladder and
Hmm.
progressing in my career. There was so much of like, I can't tell you the number of times I was told to just sit down and listen, little girl, like as
Oh,
a 30-year-old woman. And mind you, like 30 compared to 60, like, yes, I am a kid, right? But, and at the same time, like, the only reason you don't want me speaking up is because I'm challenging what you're saying and you know that you're wrong. But I digress.
yeah.
But so, like, women have to have had to in this modern corporate world have had to take on
Mhm.
that role of alpha male to
Right.
survive, to hold the line, right? And so like I was very fortunate for myself that I was able to hold the line without having to like project aggressively. But a lot of my peers in that space, like they were aggressive because they were
Yes.
just trying to fight for their lives, and their egos, like you were just saying, they get amplified because the ego is there to protect, because you're
Right.
always fighting for being enough and being worthy of the title and like, why am I here?
Yes.
Um, and
Yeah.
don't
And
you
that,
dare challenge me because like this is my job, not
yeah.
yours.
Uh-huh. Yes. And that's, because as the male ego, careful how I
Say
do
it.
this. But as the male ego, the woman is my thing. You
Mm.
are my, I own you because you are female, therefore you are lesser, therefore you're
Now,
mine. And how dare you, as my, you know, as my thing, try to impose your will upon me
now,
as the king? Come on, right?
is that question, is that truly like a feeling and an experience that is happening? Or is that a narrative we gave to something? I've never been a man in this world, so I don't know the answer. So
It
I
is
hope
a
it wasn't a
it is
fest.
it is a real thing. Yes.
Okay.
Because
Why is that?
because again it comes down to ego. And again, and maybe I'm weird, because I experience it and let it go
Okay.
where many people don't. And so for me, you know, I need to, it's why men have trophy wives. It's why men have really nice, flashy cars. It's because this is mine, and my status rises because I have a beautiful wife. My status rises because I have the nice Tesla, right? My status rises because my children are going to college and have good grades, right? It's because all of the things are built to build up my ego. And the real truth is because I don't feel like I have, if it were just me, there's not enough to prop up what my image to the world is. That
That's
that
so
that's the real key.
fascinating.
The key is in weakness. The key is in the narcissistic weakness that I'm not really enough. So therefore, if I have these cool things, then you'll think I'm enough.
That's so cool. That is
Right?
so
And so,
fascinating.
yeah, so for you as a 30 something to be challenging me, here I'm 56 and I know what I'm doing. You, a little girl
You
in
little
that little
peasant.
box over there, you have no, yes, you've got some good ideas, but nowhere near as good as mine.
That was
That's
it.
where
Were you
that comes
there?
from.
You must
That
have
it
been
comes
there.
from a place of self-doubt and weakness.
Which I find so funny because the more I grow, all of the people I used to look up to, admire, sought mentorship from, as I grow in myself, I see all of these inadequacies, and not in a like demeaning way, but in a like, oh my gosh, you are the most insecure person I've met. Like, I'm sorry for you. And then I'm like, oh my God, do I think I'm better than other people? And then it's like, time out. No, that's not what's happening. It's just an observation of realizing it's like seeing behind the curtain. And you're like, oh my God, all of that was a facade to protect, when in reality, none of that stuff they were projecting or advising on, none of it was actually real. It was all just hot air because they've never been themselves a day in their life. So here I was trying to aspire
Mhm.
into this being that never existed. No wonder the way I'm doing it is threatening. And I don't mean that in like this belittling way, but
No, I
from
get it.
that space of like, oh,
Yeah.
it like releases the pressure. You know, like when you have a ninja pot and it says you have to like release the pressure so you can get the lid off. It's like
Uh-huh.
one of those moments of like, oh,
Yeah.
we're all just human trying to figure this out and none of us know what's going on.
Yeah. It's like the time I realized I was doing something with I was with my wife. So and we were trying to figure out what to do with our kids and all of that. And it hit me that I am now the age my parents were when I was a kid, right? And here I am at the time, the 10-year-old me thought my parents knew everything. They were, right? They were that person on the pedestal that had it all figured out. I mean, if you need something, you go find the adult. And it's like, oh shit, I'm the adult now.
You're like,
They
I
had
still need
no
my mom.
idea what they were doing, right? And so it's the same thing where when we put these people on a pedestal that that's who I want to be, we are all human beings. We all have our failings. We all have our self-doubts. We all have foibles.
Yes.
It's actually a funny thing that my ex-wife once told me. And I was having one of these things where I tend to be very perfectionistic and I want everything to be just perfect. And she goes, honey, the position of omnipotence and perfection is taken, right? And it was in jest. It was a fun, and I'm like, but it stopped me and went, oh yeah.
Oh man.
But it's
Okay.
I remember that so often because I have to remind myself, like I want to be perfect and I want everything to be just right, and I want to give the perfect, you know, TikTok video that will touch people's hearts and allow them to. The position of omnipotence and perfection is taken.
You know
I'm
what was
going to
a
muddle through as best I can.
do you want to know what the really hard pill for me to swallow was realizing that all of what you when I was experiencing what you just said in the moments when I have that like I've got to be perfect and I want to make sure that this is what they feel and what they do, realizing that I that is me being manipulative because I'm kind of trying to control someone else's
Mm,
experience. That hits a certain way because you think you're doing
ouch.
it out of the kindness of your heart. You're trying to serve. But if you're manipulating the other person's experience, like that doesn't feel good either. And so like I don't know why I thought of that just now, but like that concept of people pleasing. It's like, oh, you're not a people pleaser. You're a manipulator from the opposite, like guys as a people pleaser, because we please people to
Sorry,
manipulate them
no.
to like
People
us.
pleaser plays much better with my ego, and
Okay.
manipulator is that's not good. But people pleaser, I'm happy being
I
a people
don't mean it
pleaser. I make people
negatively,
happy. Come on now.
but it's like when you think about that, you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm trying
Yeah.
to make sure that they love me, that they like me, that they value me, right? I'm doing
Mhm.
all of these things, not out of the kindness of my heart, but because I want something, I want to receive something in return. And then none of
Yeah.
it saying it's good or bad, but like that's a perspective that'll make you stop and be like, oh, well, I don't want to be like that. Is not a characteristic that I value.
Yes.
So what am I going to do with that?
Yeah.
Oh, this
Yeah.
is so fun. You've pushed my brain in this conversation in corners it hasn't played in a really long time.
Excellent. That makes me happy.
I appreciate that because we talked about topics I haven't explored for probably 5 or 6 years.
Good. Uh, I mean, for me, this is fun. This is what it's all about.
These are my favorite kinds of conversations.
Indeed. Indeed. Mm. Yeah, because yes, I agree. Yeah, it's funny that when you talked about like the doing things for like to is it to help other people or is it for you to get stuff? It always the thing that I always think about is, I think whatever the maximum is, like what you give, you will receive tenfold kind of a thing. And I always put the caveat on that. What you give, you will receive tenfold unless you do it for the return.
Mm, so accurate.
Right? It's for me, it's all about the intention. And in my like life balance training, I've got the life triad and life balance triad and all of that kind of stuff. And one of the layers is, helping other in the relationships. Relationship, the foundation is your family, your tight knit, the framework is like friends and business associates, and then the manifestation is others. How do you make a positive difference in the world, right? And I always talk about if you want like the best feeling ever, do something good for someone where they don't know it's you and they have no way of ever paying you back for what you did. That is and I've had the opportunity to do it a few times, and it's always just it's like it's so awesome. it's so awesome. Just, you know, giving something to somebody that they don't know it's you. They can't say thank you. There's no way they will ever be able to pay it back, but you know you did it. And it wasn't for glorification. It wasn't for, I'm not even going to say the examples that I know I did, right? Because I don't want that. It's the spirit of service. It's the spirit of I'm doing something for somebody else that will change their life and they can't
because I
reciprocate
can.
because I can. And it's like the old thing that character is doing what you're supposed to even when nobody's watching kind of a thing, right? And so that's where true that's where the true pleasure and the true good lies in that.
So
So
beautiful. For
yeah.
a while there, I want to share this in case this is helpful to someone who's listening. For a while there, I would get these little, almost like like you order bouquets of flowers and they come with those little cards.
Hmm.
So I ordered a pack of those and I would just put, sometimes all I had was $1, other times it was $10. And I would just put some money in it and just write on the front, this is for you. And I would leave it randomly. I would like go out on a Wednesday, Wealth Wednesday, and I would just go out, and anywhere I went, I would just leave them in random spots. Sometimes it was like box of diapers. Sometimes it was at the convenience store. I'd like sit it in front of like on a Snickers bar, or just leave it on the counter as I like checked out. And for no other reason than
Love that.
if I had received that and it was a bad day, like that would have changed my whole day. And so like you just don't know.
Mhm.
And it doesn't
I
have to be a
love
lot.
that. I love that. And especially for those of us who are blessed to have, you know, financial well-being, right? You know, I there was a you know, there have been multiple periods in my life where, $10 would have changed my week, changed my world, right? Because it was like, all right,
You would have been able to put gas in the car.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. I don't know if I'm going to make it
We could have
through
we
the
could have gone
gas,
and
right?
bought some, we could have buy some peanut butter and jelly with that.
Yeah,
Like people joke about that, but that's life changing.
it is. And that's what I'm saying. For, now I don't have, food insecurity. I don't have shelter insecurity. I'm comfortable and, it by the status of most of the world, I'm very wealthy, right? But what am I sharing with others that truly, I have the ability to impact so many different people. I'm probably going to implement that.
It's so fun. It's so fun. And like I'm not in a season where that's an option right now, but you know what it is an option is writing cards for people and leaving
Mhm.
messages. And some, like most of the time they're for like friends. And if I someone pops in my head, I either send them a video message immediately that says, "Hey, you just popped on my mind. You were on my mind. I just wanted to say hi. Hope you're having a really good day." No intention of anything in return. Other times it's like I grab a postcard out of the box and I write a handwritten letter and I put it in the mail. And it's like I don't want nothing other than like you were on my heart and my mind, and I
Mhm.
just wanted to let you know you're important, right? And it's those, so it doesn't even have to be monetary. Like it can be that
Right.
simple.
Yeah. And honestly, for most people, especially those that are actually in our connection, in our network, the time and attention is far more precious than any monetary thing. I mean, I would pay any amount of money to have another conversation with my mom, right? She passed in 2023, right? One of the things, and I touched on it briefly in my TED Talk, but my dad, he committed suicide, right? In February of 2020 of 2002. Um, and part and part of that which is why I do what I do, is because I was working so much. And, I did a 140-hour work week once. I was in the doing the corporate thing. And had I had more time to actually make a call, send a letter, do that human connection, right? How much would I give now to have had more of that connection before he was gone? You know,
And we think that we need to we need to plan a trip, we need to do a thing, we need to go out to dinner. We think that they need to be these big grand gestures. Those are great and those are fun. But we're missing like the little moments of connection
uh,
that take 2 seconds in a day.
yeah,
I
bringing
was
it
just
full
doing the
circle,
math. I
bringing
was
it
just
full circle. It's the cup of coffee in the morning, right?
yes.
It's the little stuff.
I was just doing the math on 120 hours over 7 days. That's 20-hour days.
It's 20, yeah,
My
20
my
hours a day for
max
7 days in a row.
my max was 96 in a week. I think
Yeah. I actually,
15 times seven. What's 15 times seven? 105. My max was 105 before. And that just, I don't know why I'm bragging about. I was just more like, man,
yeah,
that is a
I brought a
season.
sleeping bag in to the office. I was on the 11th floor or ninth floor in Greenville, South Carolina. Brought a sleeping bag into the office. I was a developer and I coded a salary planning module for our intranet by myself in a week and a half, right? And so I took the
You
sleeping bag
never
in.
amaze me.
I would code until I couldn't see anymore, put out the sleeping bag, lay down, sleep 2 hours, get up, and just keep going again till I couldn't see anymore, lay down, go to sleep. So it was nuts. I did it. It launched my career, right? And so that's the really challenging part is that we get accolades and we get money and we get promotions for doing things that are inimical to who we are as human beings.
But there's also a version of this story where that was exactly where what was right for you at the time. You'd never do that now, most likely.
No,
But
no.
in the time and in the moment, like when I look back at the time where like I was working those 90, 100-hour work weeks, that was exactly where I was meant to be. Like that was the season that like I chose that. I was so all in. Um, because
Yeah,
that was what I thought that was what was important to me at the time.
right.
Right. And then I experienced the dichotomy of what it was like to feel like I was missing it, to realize I was missing out on things. And then I had this comparison of being like, what is it that I actually want? And what would feel good for me? Is it still this? It's okay if it is. But like I think we learn those things of who we do and don't want to be as we go. I'm so proud of those times.
Agreed. The challenge for me is that doing that damaged my marriage ended up ending because I was putting all of my energy into the work and into the hustle and into the growth and being the big guy on campus, right? And I was not there for my daughter. I would leave before she woke up in the morning. I might get home in time to put her to bed. So I wasn't being there as a father. I wasn't being there as a husband, right? And so yes, I mean, because don't get me wrong, at the time I loved it. I was happy because I was doing what I love and getting paid for it, and my ego was going up, and I was getting promoted. I was getting accolades because people thought, man, Dan's the man, right? Um, so from that perspective, I was happy because I didn't understand what it was costing me
Mm.
until the bill came due and the marriage dissolved and I wasn't able to see my daughter anymore and it's like we don't and this is why I do what I do is to help people understand. I get it. I get being successful. I get doing rising in the corporate world and the business world and all of that. And this is why I talk about being out of balance on purpose, is because my purpose is is it just to make a lot of money? In which case, I don't need a family, right? We don't need one. Just, just be yourself and go out there, be a self-made billionaire. Go for it. Well, no, that's not what I want at all. Well, what you're doing by working 140 hours in a week is you are just thinking about you and just going towards making, money, worshiping at the corporate altar, and you're leaving everything else that's what you is it everything else is being left behind, because whatever you say yes to means you say no to everything else. So if you're only saying
100%.
yes to the corporate life and that work, then you're saying no to your marriage. You're saying no to your children. You're saying no to your health. I mean, I used to have hair distress, right? All of that ties in. So if you're not aware of how out of balance you are, and if you're not aware of the cost of that imbalance, then you just keep doing it because we're getting the positive reinforcement. And that, for
Yes.
me, that's my whole thing, is to help people become aware that don't, please don't do what I did. Right. I mean, that,
And to open the lines of communication so that your unit is on board, like everyone is working towards a similar
yes,
goal, right?
correct.
If it's just the
Yes.
one and no one else is playing in that game and we didn't develop this vision together, that does create a lot of animosity.
Hmm. Yes.
That's something else that I learned, was like how to figure out what perfect day, perfect where Tiffany wants to go, and how do I learn how to articulate and ask questions for the other people that are important to me of what their destination is, so that we can together like work
Mhm.
our destinations
Correct.
simultaneously, because it's really hard to go to Disney World and Disneyland in the same car at the same time.
Yes.
Both of them are magical places,
Uh-huh.
but you can't go to both of them at the same time in the same car.
Correct.
Oh,
And
this has
this,
been so good.
indeed. Yeah. And this is why I always talk about, remember, relationships are systems. And we have, wherever you find yourself in a relationship, you are a system. There is equilibrium there, right? And so whenever you change something, it's going to change the dynamic of the whole. It's like if you take one piece off of a baby mobile, right? It's going to go out, it's going to be out of whack until it finds its new normal. And so whenever we're making changes and we're setting goals and we're doing this, I always talk about that, right? It's the ripples in the pond. It's not the immediate change and the willpower necessary to, the discipline to do the thing, the New Year's resolution that you set. It's often not that. It's what that upsets in the rest of the balance of the
That butterfly
system
effect.
that's going to cause the problems. And so when we need to make changes and we need to do that, we've got to be aware of that too. So awesome. Well, this has been fantastic. I feel like we keep coming to like, and then, well, one more thing. So we'll have to do this again because this has been absolutely fantastic. So for the people who are watching, how can they find you? How, what, yeah, how can they find you, and how can you help them?
Yeah. Every person I talk to says like, if I just had 5 minutes to myself, I could probably change the world. But like, I just don't have enough time to do it all. And
Mhm.
so if you are struggling with time and you're trying to get some time back, DM me the word time, TIME, on your favorite social media platform, and I will send you my time hacks guide to help you get an hour back in your life as soon as tomorrow. It is so important to me that you do that. And hack number 3 is hands down my favorite. My handle is the Tiffany Simms, SIMMS, on Facebook, Instagram. You can go find me there, and I cannot wait to have a chat with you.
And I will put links to that in the description for this episode. So again, this has been so much fun. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Um,
I appreciate you.
we will definitely be doing this again in the future. Now, awesome. Appreciate you. Take care.